On today's show,
we discuss D-Wade's All-Star Game chances and whether the Bucks have figured out a way to slow James Harden.
have the Celtics found themselves? Should Sacramento go after Enes Kanter? Up or down on floor slapping?
And CJ McCollum stars in a brand new edition of the Meme Team.
It's Thursday, January 10th. The Star starts now.
Good evening, sweet world, and welcome to The Starters, presented by Jack Daniel's Old No. 7 and Tennessee Honey. I'm Jay Skeets, alongside me as always, Tass Mellis, that's the Aussie, Lee Ellis, and over yonder, well, that's the bearded one, that's Trey Kirby.
Hey-yo!
Hey, yo! TK, what's up?
Well, I'm here at the internet looking for your best tweets at hashtag The Starters. And guys, meditation is all the rage these days. And last night, it made its way to an NBA bench. Because after Zach Collins fouled out, his teammates CJ McCollum and Mo Harkless did their best to help the youngster find his inner smile. Now guys, nothing beats pranayama to relax your mind and body, but this brings us to today's question. What are some other ways to chill on the bench? Like, for example, how about taking a nap? That's what Chris Kaman did not too long ago, and the Lakers had a lot of space on their bench, just hitting the Shavasana, rocking that corpse pose, looking super relaxed. But we want to hear from you, so hit us up on Twitter and let us know some other ways to chill on the bench. Send us your best tweets to hashtag The Starters. We'll hear from you later.
All right, get those tweets in. On tonight's show, we're going to discuss the Kings and Knicks trade rumors. We've got a brand new edition of the Meme Team. We've got a very solid play, but let's start tonight here with a little true or false. Lots to talk about. TK's got some questions. We'll debate the answer. Let's do it.
Second All-Star voting returns came in today, and guys, we got some movement out west as Paul George leapfrogged both Kevin Durant and Anthony Davis to join LeBron and Luka in the front court, while Steph Curry and Derrick Rose held down their spots in the backcourt. In the East, things stayed the same. Giannis, Kawhi, and Embiid are the front court, while Kyrie Irving and Dwayne Wade increased their lead amongst guards. We still got to factor in player and coach voting, but true or false, Dwayne Wade will start the All-Star game.
I think that's false.
I think it's false.
The fans are definitely going to have him in. That gap widened. There's no way Kemba is going to catch him. But you factor in the media, you factor in the players, very important. The media, I think they're really going to do their job here because voting is a privilege. I thought you were going to say it for me. If voting is a privilege, I think they're going to do the math. They're going to put him down the list. I think players as well. I think the only way that Dwayne Wade starts is if Kemba Walker says, you're in. Right. I think whoever gets that second spot basically allows Dwayne Wade to be the starter by doing the Vince Carter, Michael Jordan dance that they did back in the Wizards days. But I don't think Wade gets it.
He wouldn't do that in Charlotte, though, would he? I don't think.
Kemba should get it. That's true.
And it's not like, Dwayne, if he gets in, he will play in the game. So I think if it is in Charlotte and Kemba gets in, I think Kemba starts. But I think Dwayne Wade has such respect amongst the players. He's definitely going to get that vote.
Yeah, that's a possibility. It really is.
You think they're going to vote him above guys like, first of all, these two, Walker and Kyrie Irving and Kyle Lowry?
Everyone wants to get Wade's jersey this year. He's still very, very popular amongst his fellow peers. And also, remember, Dwayne Wade's a three-time champ. He's accomplished tons in this game. So it's a nice way to sort of send him off. It's just whether or not the media will agree with that and whether or not they'll go to Kemba Walker, who's having a great season. But the Hornets aren't having a great season themselves. Wade, he's having a decent season for a guy at his age. But I'm just not sure. I'm not sure Kemba can really sway everybody to think that he's totally deserving of that.
This is silly. Come on. Kemba Walker should be over Dwayne Wade, and so should Oladipo, and so should Ben Simmons, and maybe even Lowry, though he's missed some games. I love Dwayne Wade. He's a 12-time All-Star. He's got an All-Star Game MVP. He's got the titles. He's done it all. It's his last dance. I get it. But he shouldn't be starting the game. If we want to talk about there being some sort of legacy sort of selection that a commissioner could do, and you could add this to the mix, then yeah. But we know this is Wade's last season, so he's getting a lot of love here, and that's fine. But where's the support for guys like Dirk, who it could be his last season? Vince Carter, maybe could be his last season. These guys are perennial all-stars.
Dirk's barely played, though.
But Dwayne Wade isn't lighting it up here.
He's playing.
He's under 14 points per game.
Yeah, but he's still playing pretty well. Vince isn't putting up those
He's
numbers.
not playing like an all-star. Hold on.
No, I know.
Dwayne Wade's not playing like an all-star.
He's got a hashtag, though.
He's got the hashtag.
He's having a better season than those other two guys you mentioned. Vince is putting up not very big numbers.
Again, he's not playing like an all-star.
Yeah.
What are we talking about
Yeah,
here?
yeah.
He's not
For the
deserving,
fans,
he's not
Skeets.
deserving of an all-star. We're only saying he's maybe an all-star because it's his last season. My point is, why aren't we doing it with maybe a Dirk or maybe a Vince?
This happened. Kobe in his last season was the same.
I'm not.
You know?
I didn't like it then, and I don't like it now.
Yeah, but Dirk and Vince aren't getting the fan vote.
Right. Right.
Dwayne Wade is, because they want to see him there. And this is, it's not for us media folk. It's for our other halves when we go home and we're fans. It's for the fans.
Yeah.
And I'm not,
Well,
are you certain that he's going to get in as a starter?
No, I think the players might do it, so that might help his chances here because you said it looks like he's going to get the fan vote.
I
would not be
doubt the
shocked.
media does.
Yeah, the media know because we're all curmudgeons. But yes, the players.
We don't have a vote. by
Yeah,
the way.
us
Let's
personally,
be
we
clear,
definitely
no.
don't. But I think the players might do it here.
Well, we're
look,
fans, so
here's
we
the
have a
thing.
vote.
Here's the thing.
100%. Double the votes probably
Yeah.
today. I don't know.
Yeah.
If Wade does start this game, I'm not going to be freaking out. Like, who cares? It's an exhibition game, and it will be fun, I'm sure. But he is in a way going to be taking a spot from a deserving guy.
Well,
that's what we get into.
That's the
here.
thing. I mean, you don't want it to get to a position where a younger player, let's say Ben Simmons, for example, who is deserving of a spot, doesn't get in because of Wade. And that's, again, where it comes back to the talk that we've had about a legacy vote, maybe where the commissioner can use some discretion to say, all right, let's add him to the roster, but let's not have him in there replacing somebody else.
Well, that's why he may get in, because a guy like Ben Simmons isn't having an out-of-this-world type season. And you look all the way down, all those guards. Victor Oladipo missed some time. He was an all-star last year. Bradley Beal, not playing on a very good winner right now, not on a very good team. He might miss out, a former all-star. So that's why Wade might get in. You look up and down. Kyle Lowry missed time. There's just a bunch of guys. Zach LaVine on a bad team. There's not a lot of Eastern guards that are really, really, truly worthy.
I get that. But even all those things considered, still Wade is not having a better season than any of those guys.
No,
that's what I'm getting
100%
at
not.
here. Right. But I love the legacy vote idea. It'd be cool if they did that down the line because I think we're going to start seeing this a lot more here, where this is going to become commonplace here. But maybe he just gets in. Maybe the players we want to see him in there. One last dance, one last All-Star game. New hashtag. All right, next one here, Trey.
Oh, sorry, my bad. Just voting for Dwayne Wade 10
Oh,
times.
yeah, he
on
loves
behalf
it.
of
He
all
loves
of us.
it.
That's exactly
His best
right.
buddy.
20 votes between the four of us, actually. Anyways, moving on. James Harden played another round of Edward 40 hands last night, scoring 42 points and adding 6 assists in the Rockets' loss to the Bucks. It was his 12th 40-plus point game of the season, but it wasn't easy as Harden shot 13 for 30 and turned the ball over 9 times as Milwaukee did their best to take away his left hand. True or false? The Bucks figured out how to slow down James Harden. He had 42 points.
Yeah, I think it's
42.
false. Yeah, did you slow down a guy that still scored 42? Took him 30 shots.
A lot of turnovers.
Yeah, there was 9 turnovers. That's right, to only 6 assists, and he went 0 for 4 in the clutch. A lot of those in the step backs. Maybe he tired. I'll say false, but I think the true part is they found a way to slow Clint Capella, and a big part of that was Brook Lopez. I mean, Trey, you said it there. The Bucks defenders were just playing to take away Harden going left, like in a degree that I can't remember seeing in an NBA game recently. They are just so far funneling him to his right, and then Brook, he would step up time and time again, generally make it sort of difficult for Harden, and when the ball did find its way to Capella, he got back at times to either get the block or to deter his shot. So they found a really way to take out Capella, who Harden's always looking for once he blows by everybody. But yeah, Harden still got his
It's the
42.
Houston offense was what they slowed down,
Right.
because 2 nights earlier against Denver, you had PJ Tucker and Gerald Green hitting 6 threes and Harden hit 7. And when those guys aren't firing, then it just puts so much more emphasis on what James Harden did, because the 42 and 11 is great and the 6 assists, but when he doesn't get that support, and Mike D'Antoni basically played 6 guys last night. I mean, other guys got on the court, but he basically went with those 6, including Gerald Green. And if those guys aren't knocking down those shots, then Houston, their offense just does stagnate, particularly in that third quarter. It looked like maybe their legs got a little bit heavy. They couldn't get an easy basket, and Milwaukee pulled away from it. So I don't think they slowed down James Harden, but in the big picture, they definitely slowed down the Houston offense.
Yeah, big picture, Chris Paul and Eric Gordon are going to be on this team at some point. So it's easy to forget because we talk about James Harden night in and night out. They're second and third best scorers, aside from Clint Capella. The guys who can score the ball aren't playing. So a lot is on James Harden's shoulders. And yes, the entire defensive focus, as it was with the Nuggets, double team, was different yesterday. Take away that left. So it was cool to see that because, no, I don't think a team has really done it to that degree. And Malcolm Brogdon was literally just sitting there on his right hand, and he's a very good defender. It was really cool to see. That being said, I think it kind of just threw him off because we haven't seen that quite yet. But you don't throw off the MVP, really. This guy practices his moves day in and day out. Do we really think he can't go right? Come on.
You're saying
I mean,
if he
step
sees
back.
it time and time again here, if other teams try and implement this, he's going to figure out a way to.
Well, he did last night.
Yeah, he had the
he
floaters
had a
once.
really good game last night. But there were some bad turnovers.
Yeah.
But he can still step back and hit some shots.
And it was a 3-point game with only a couple of minutes to go. So 1 or 2 of those possessions go the other way, and the Rockets could have won this game.
Right.
Big win for the Bucks, though.
Yeah,
You know,
good win.
snapping the Rockets' 10-game winning streak at home. Pretty impressive. All right, final one, Trey.
And another 10 for Dwayne Wade. The Celtics blew out the Pacers last night, giving them 4 straight wins to start the new year. They're still just 5th in the East, but they've climbed up to 9th in the league on offense after a hot couple of months, while the always great defense remains tied for 2nd. They went to Game 7 of the conference finals last season, so true or false, the Celtics are who we thought they were.
Yeah, I think this is sort of true. I mean, they got off to that 10-10 start. And kudos to Brad Stevens. He was tinkering. He was trying to find a starting lineup that would work. And I think he's found it here, and that was putting in 2 Marcuses into the starting lineup, Marcus Smart and Marcus Morris. That's when the offense really has caught fire here over now, what like feels like 6 weeks. It's impressive. And I think it helps a guy like Jaylen Brown too. Like not only Smart in the starting lineup and Morris, but Jaylen Brown is just better as a reserve player right now. That's just a fact. He puts up better numbers in less minutes. He just gets more shots. He's a higher usage rate in that role against second units. And it's working. So yeah, I mean, they still got a great defense, and now they've paired it with an offense that's on fire. Horford shooting well. So this is the Celtics. We thought they were going to be good, and it turns out they are.
Yeah, speaking of that offense, 5 different scorers have led them in scoring in the last 5 games, and Brown's done it twice coming off the bench. So it just shows they've got a lot of balance in their offense, which is what you need from the Celtics. You can't have Kyrie Irving going down and trying to go for 35, getting more contributions from players, which is what Brad Stevens wants, and 30 or more assists in the last 5 games as well. That ball is fizzing around.
Yeah, a lot of assists, a lot of movement, a lot of talent. It took them a while. They've won 25 games through the first half of the season. You'd think that they're going to get better in the second half. If they win about 30 games, a 55-win team, that's kind of what we expected at the beginning of the year.
For sure. When we return, during the break, I got to vote for Kemba Walker for the All-Star game. Sort of counter all these Wade votes here from Trey. But when
I
we
just
come
put
back,
in one for Vince Carter.
are you up or down on slapping the floor on defense?
And a Dirk.
The Starters is presented by Jack Daniel's Old No. 7 and Tennessee Honey.
Right into the up-down report. Our first topic goes out to Kevin Garnett. Last night, Suns forward Kelly Oubre Jr. slapped the hardwood while getting ready to defend Mavs rookie Luka Doncic. Now, Oubre, he played some solid D, but Luka here still manages to hit the one-handed fall away. Unbelievable. Twitter then roasted Kelly for the floor tap. Are you guys up or down on slapping the floor in general on defense there?
You have to.
Yeah,
Be up.
Wow, I'm shocked
If
by
he
this.
doesn't make a move like this, we don't get this sort of a viral moment. It was a beautiful moment. And actually, Kelly Oubre kind of acknowledged that it was a great shot too from Doncic.
Oh,
He gives
unbelievable
he
shot.
gives him a little head nod afterwards. So he sort of realizes like, yeah, you got me, but at least he tries. You want to see players doing this sort of stuff.
Yeah, this is a classic hype-up move. It's similar to, like waving your arms to the crowd after you make a big shot, get louder, louder. But you got to get the stop. Otherwise, it's like if you're at a pool and you're like, hey, watch this dive, and then you do a belly flop. Happens to me all the time. It's
Seaboard.
terrible. Well, no, those are purpose.
Oh, right.
That's on purpose, and those are great.
You love to slap the floor on the dance floor. It was sort of like that.
Yeah, so that's my question.
Yeah.
Do you have to do it with 2 hands? Because, my dance floor slaps just 1.
Right.
I mean, I guess I do 2 sometimes. But is it required that you do 2 as a defender?
Well, I think
have
if
you
you're
ever
gonna-
tried the 2? Maybe that's a new move for you.
Yeah, occasionally. I think I have.
I
I
think
don't
you have.
remember.
Yeah.
I definitely
it's
don't
another
remember.
guy. It's
Vegas.
scary when
Yeah.
he's doing it. I was gonna say, do you have to do what Garnett does? You can't. You got to get to your knees and do the slap. Because look, Garnett took it to the next level. This is during play, like coming the other way.
The ball is coming up the court.
Yeah, I think that's what Kelly's got.
KG can do whatever the heck he wants.
All right, next one here, guys. According to Woj, the Knicks and the Kings have been discussing some sort of Enes Kanter for Zach Randolph swap. Kanter on an expiring $18.6 million contract. Randolph expiring $11.6 million. Rumor is the Knicks may want an extra asset thrown in, maybe like a second-round pick. But are you guys, let's look at it from the Kings side. Are you up or down on the Kings acquiring a guy here like Kanter? You like the move? Ooh, okay.
I don't. It's cool that the Kings may be trying to go for somebody in their prime. They're trying to make the postseason. That's cool. That's rare. But I don't like the fact that that could override Marvin Bagley's development. That's exactly what Enes Kanter would be doing, coming off the bench. And if you're training for Enes Kanter, it's not just for this season. It's ideally for a couple seasons.
Well,
What's Marvin Bagley going to do? Marvin Bagley is a very high draft pick for a reason. You want to play him. You don't want another draft pick that kind of flames out. I understand going for it in this postseason, but I'd rather see a team just try and be good with their core for a long time.
I think it's a low-risk move, though, because Cantor isn't expiring, so they're not committed to him beyond this season.
Yeah.
And it's always good for a young team to have a guy who can score. We know Cantor's not a great defensive player, but he might be able to help Bagley as the season wears on, just to go out there, get a few baskets for them, because that's one thing Cantor can do, is he can score.
But hold on.
can
With
also
the
tweet.
Yeah, and I was going to say, with the Knicks, his displeasure was he wasn't starting.
Right.
Because and he was saying, well, we're not even winning, so why am I not in there?
I don't see him starting on this team.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Right,
But maybe he
probably
would
not.
want to.
But again, a veteran presence who can just go out and get baskets. As the Kings really try to push to make the players, I think it's not too bad. Zach Randolph's not playing at all, so why not get a guy who can score?
It would be nice if they could get another guy for the perimeter, but I like what Tass is saying. They're making a move to try and make it to the postseason. They got the longest drought in the league right now, haven't made it since 2006. At least they're saying, hey, we're buyers out here. We're trying to do something. I think that's a nice message to send to your young guys.
But should they just get him to run their social media account?
No, they have a great social media account, Sacramento. Don't touch that. Final one here. The Patrick McCaw saga may finally be over because according to multiple reports, the free agent guard plans to sign with the Raptors. The deal is reportedly a one-year vet minimum contract, so about $750,000. You know, McCaw was on the Cavs for 3 games, let go and all this. We talked about that a little bit. But are you up or down on the Raptors signing Patrick McCaw? Or is this,
Championship pedigree.
wow, okay.
Look, their wings are pretty deep. He's not going to play over, obviously, Siakam or Anunoby, but let's say Norman Powell or CJ Miles, he's slumping. Norman Powell doesn't play well. He can get a few minutes. It's low risk, low reward, I guess. I mean, but yeah, he can play some minutes. He's a champ. He's got the Norris Cole going. He's played 2 years. He's a champ either one. Maybe he can extend it to 3. Who
He's
knows?
played minutes in every single game of the finals the past 2 years, and he's going to be an upgrade over their 12th, 13th man, Lorenzo Brown, who they just released this week. So it's basically maybe they get a little bit better at the very, very end of their bench, and maybe that comes in handy sometime come May or June if the Raptors are lucky.
So, Lee, what's your problem with this? You're torn.
He's insurance. That's really all.
Right.
I mean, so it doesn't really change anything.
So does this mean, like, who cares? Is that what you're saying?
not who cares. Just I'm not up, I'm not down. It's like it's a sideways move rather than an up or a down.
There you go.
Maybe he's got some inside info on the Warriors.
Sure.
Sure.
Got the scouting
Oh,
reports.
Raptors,
And the
Warriors.
Cavs. The Cavs they can't get past in the playoffs.
That's a good point. All right, when we come back, we got a brand new edition of the Meme Team. It's a good one. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to The Starters. Every week, we scour the internet to bring you the Meme Team, our favorite weird and wacky moments from the NBA universe.
At number 5, some in-arena entertainment at a Bucks game had many impressed. Look at the crowd. They're pumped to see this man with a ladder, including the Bucks' Jason Smith. He's in awe. What is this guy doing? Well, he's going to put a ladder on his chin.
Whose dad is this?
That's why everybody's amazed. This could just be a regular guy.
Yeah.
Anybody out there in the crowd got a special talent? Sure. Throw that on my chin.
How
Whatever.
do you discover you have that talent?
Jason Smith even tweeted about it after. The guy balanced a ladder on his chin.
This week, an old video showing Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez dancing in college was shared by conservative Twitter accounts as an attempt to discredit the congresswoman. Instead, the clip went viral, people loved it, and Def Pen Hoops added some round ball rock. Round ball rock makes everything better.
It certainly does.
Basketball.
I can't hear it without thinking of Kawhi Leonard now, though.
This show just got smart.
AOC on NBA on NBC. Took me a while to figure that out.
At number 3, Steph Curry dropped Sacramento's Justin Jackson. It was mean. He went flying, just tripping over himself. And the NBA TV social media team, they made a doozy. Well done.
I spilled my coffee in the hallway here earlier today, and I put down one of those yellow signs.
Courtesy.
True story. The Blazers want you to vote for Lillard into the All-Star game and to convince you. Here's CJ McCollum doing the Napoleon Dynamite dance routine.
Got some moves. Got some moves, CJ. Nice.
He's actually got a majority of the dance moves from the movie down.
He's
killing
committed. He went into it knowing that he was going to give it his all.
He's got the moon boots.
But can he cook a delicious bass?
Gosh, CJ's so good at this.
At number 1, one MVP candidate nailed the other.
Oh,
Giannis nailing James Harden, and the memes got flowing, of course. Reigning MVP says, stay in your lane. Giannis, I don't think so. Thanks, Keith Fujimoto. Yahoo Sports, some great ones. Amazon firing out those deliveries. And student loans really hammering people. Yes, they are.
True.
Worldwide Wob gives us the MVP race update.
Bang! It goes right back to Giannis. That's the crazy part.
He makes the pass out. 3-ball.
Classic Doinker in the meme team. Who would have thunk? When we come
Crossover
back,
episode.
That's right. When we come back, Lily's very solid play. TNT doubleheader. Celtics Heat, followed by the Thunder Spurs. Some nice games there. Coverage starts at 6:30 p.m. Eastern on Game Time. NBA TV, you're not going anywhere yet. We asked you other ways to chill on the bench. You hit us up on Twitter, #TheStarters. Trey, you got some answers.
Yeah, some good answers. Vegas says 2K gives you one way to do it, just zooming on in there. Never seen something like that before. How about the time that the Cavs were flipping water bottles during the game? That was crazy. My favorite answer, though, comes from Alexander, who says, just stroking your beard. That's how I relax.
Yeah, that's a Trey Kirby.
Also, my nervous tick.
All right, last night's pick'em results. Trey and I got that one right. We had the Bucks. We got a three-way tie at the bottom between Lee, Tass, and myself. Still early. Tonight's game. Whoa! Thunder Spurs on TNT. Everybody taking the Thunder on the road. Spurs not good in a back-to-back.
No.
So maybe that's
They're
coming
good at
into
home,
play
though.
here. They are good at home. We will see. We could be wrong. All right, very solid play.
Yeah, going out to Portland for another beautiful play here from the Blazers. You might remember they won very solid play the first half of the season before
Yep.
we went away. Well, they haven't rested on their laurels here. The start of the second half of the season.
Wow,
Another
look at
one.
this
Finish is
play.
beautiful. So beautiful. That's not what I just call a very solid play. The Blazers did as well last night. They tweeted it out. Beautiful stuff.
Sweet.
We had a fantastic wedgie last night. A rare free throw wedgie. You just don't see these. Like a TJ Leaf falling from a tree, this ball nestles into its resting
Wow,
place.
that is crazy.
It is nuts.
Leaf it up there. Let it breathe.
We've had a couple free throw wedges, but nothing like that.
Now,
right?
you might ask yourself, how often do they happen? I know TJ is asking. Well, we get about one a year. We've had 4 in the last 5 seasons, so here are the other 3.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Nick Collison.
Yeah, I remember that one. Ooh, that was a quickie.
Real nice.
Yeah.
On a technical. Kemba
The
Walker.
loneliest wedgie.
And then this one got us 50 in 2017. It's the 50th wedgie. Now, it's not technically,
nah,
it's a
man.
rebound, but we had to squeeze it in there because it was number 50. We've got 20 on the air. We're coming for 50 again.
All right. Tomorrow, we got another drop podcast for you. We'll get it up as soon as possible. Get your questions in right now. #TheStarters@NBA.com. All right, I think we have a little bit of time for some fan signs.
Beautiful. This is David, Christy, Emery, Andrew, and Abby at the Blazers and 76ers game on December 30. That's how far back we're going. This is Liam, who says we give 0 fucks about the Nuggets. A
that's
big
solid.
Kings fan
Solid
there.
sign.
This is for 4 fans from Mossman in Sydney, Australia, and touring the West Coast.
Is that on a dish towel?
What is this?
This is Patrick with his application, his official application to be the permanent fifth starter. You have to go and check it out. Be up on Facebook. He's got some
Excellent
good stuff in there.
All right, 10 before tip coming up next. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks for joining us. And remember, this is the end of the show.
Brace tonight, people.